Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Let me give out the phone number, Dr. Shealy. So, class, if you'd like to call in and talk with Dr. Norm Shealy, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And the telephone listen line, if you'd like to take us with you as you travel, 605-477-3249. 605-477-3249. Dr. Shealy, what's new in the world of Dr. Norman Shealy, MD?
Well, just moving on. Nothing specifically new. I will be giving a paper at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine in December on our results with control of narcotic addiction and a few other things in between that, but nothing specific.
Okay, great. I had a question about supplements. And you mentioned last week taurine. Is that the same thing as L-taurine? L-taurine?
I'm sorry, I missed. I thought taurine is L-taurine. There's only one taurine.
Okay. So I bought some taurine on the internet, and it says pure pharmaceutical grade dietary supplement. That's a pretty heavy bag. I believe it's 2 pounds of taurine. Now, it says to me on this bag, as a dietary supplement, take 1 level scoop, 850 milligrams, mix with water or your favorite beverage, 2 to 3 times daily with meals or on an empty stomach. If you experience stomach irritation, take with meals. No higher daily values have been established for taurine. Is that the recommended dosage that you recommend?
Okay, now I understand. I've never seen it in a powder. I've only bought it in capsules. Okay. And the capsules usually have either 500 or 1,000 milligrams in a capsule. Okay. Now, for mild problems, I recommend 1,000 milligrams with each meal. For people with hypertension, I recommend 2,000 milligrams with each meal.
Okay, so 1,000 milligrams with each meal of taurine, up to 2,000 if you have hypertension.
Right. Now, also, if people with epilepsy, which has not been controlled adequately, that is another indication for using the higher doses of taurine.
Okay. And are there any contraindications? Is there anything that, I feel different? Is there some kind of experience that we may
well, if you take more than your body likes, it might make you a little sleepy or a little too relaxed. A real problem. Not a real problem for most people.
Right. Okay. And I was thinking that maybe this would be a supplement that would help with blood pressure.
Oh, yes. Well, it does. Again, it takes about 6,000 milligrams a day to help with your blood pressure.
Okay. 6K per day for higher blood pressure. Okay. All right. I was excited to learn about that last week. Dr. Shealy, is there a supplement or supplements that are being sold that Dr. Shealy would say, you know what, I've read about them, I've heard about them, I wouldn't do it? Have you come across some supplements that you think people should avoid?
Well, I don't memorize those when it happens. I just sort of keep it in mind till the next time I see them. In general, I think many companies don't put enough, especially of the B complex, into the minimum daily so-called requirement for all the basic Bs was set 70 or more years ago, and it was like 1 to 2 milligrams of the basic Bs. Now that is inadequate because today we have Roundup, of course, and 550,000 other poisons in the atmosphere, and so I believe that the minimum daily requirement, for instance, of the B1, 2, B3, B6, etc., is 25 milligrams. And vitamin C, the original was 60 milligrams, and now I believe it's preferably 2,000 milligrams.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned vitamin C, Dr. Shealy, we have a family friend whose spouse has cancer. And the spouse is doing a lot of interesting things, like eating 3 salads a day, juicing, things like that, as well as twice a week IV vitamin C. But I understand that it's getting difficult now to get the bags, those 500 milliliter bags of saline or glucose. Is that correct?
Well, that's thanks to your blank FDA. They don't want us to be able to give it. They haven't absolutely banned it, but they make it increasingly difficult. And I routinely recommend 75, depending on your weight, 75 to 100 grams of vitamin C IV 2 times a week for 20 injections for a cancer patient.
Okay. Could you repeat that one more time for those who might have missed it?
Yeah. Depending upon weight, 75 to 100 grams of vitamin C in a Myers cocktail 2 to 3 times a week for a total of 20 injections for cancer. Okay.
And Dr. Shealy, since it's getting harder to get, it's not only it's these bags of normal saline or glucose. They're getting hard to get for dentists as well. I mean, it's not just MDs. It's vets, it's dentists, and MDs. And I would think that it's going to be hard to get for hospitals too. Are they withdrawing these bags of IV bags from the marketplace? Are they restricting the quantity made?
All I know is everywhere that you already buy them, they always are in short supply now. And again, whatever happens is a result of some kind of FDA crime. I consider the FDA one of the criminal syndicates of the world.
Mm-hmm. And is the price of the bags going up?
Yeah, it hasn't gone up as much as the shortage has, but yes, it has gone up.
That's a shame. Okay. All right. Let's see. I had a couple other questions for you. What about, here's something I don't understand, and that is people take colloidal silver, and they take it for lots of reasons. How does colloidal silver know where to go? But, Dr. Shealy, can we hold off on that because we've got Mark in Illinois. Mark, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Hi, good morning. Hey, I was thinking about the Dr. Norm Shealy. Norman is his first name. His last name is Shealy. And a lot of people don't make the connection, but the people that are called the Vikings or the Scandinavians, they're actually called the Normans, and they were the Hebrews. They were the Israelites, and they settled in ancient Britannica in 1066, and of course they were referred by many people, but all the 12 tribes of Israel wound up in what's ancient Britannica called the United Kingdom, and they had, at that time of Christ when he was born and his death and his resurrection, the most advanced civilization on the face of the earth was in Britannica, and the Greeks and the Romans would send their children there to have, to get the higher education of all the medical arts and stuff. And so what I'm saying is that I believe the technologies that you're working with scalar energetics, and I believe there's something called reverse time wave that can actually will be probably a technology of the future. We're in the present, but more of the future of Messiah during the millennial reign of Christ, when this technology will be harnessed for the good of mankind and repair of the body. And there was a doctor called Dr. James S. McGall, and I don't know what year it was, but he wrote an article called Through the Veils, and it was published in 1947, but he's talking about Adam and Eve, and he said that scientific discovery that blood may be considered to be crystallized light. I was wanting to know what you thought about that.
Well, that's an interesting concept. I had not heard of that one before. Let's face it, progress is taking place gradually and sometimes faster than others. I would say there's been more what I would call scientific advancement in the last century than probably in the past 1,000 years. So we are making progress.
Yeah, I see the Lord using you, because you had this book, that you just recently published called The Conversations with G. And, like I was telling you, the Normans are the Vikings. They're not a bunch of brutal, savage people. They were very advanced, and they were traveling all over the earth. It's just like the Danites were. They were navigators, but I see that the Lord's using you to restore the ancient past.
Well, thank you. I do feel that I have my intuition and my conversations with my angelic guides have been a phenomenal contribution for me and for others. I'm very grateful.
Please stay with us. I've got a question for you. Okay, Mark? Please stay with us.
Okay.
Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com. NormShealy.com. Mark in Illinois is with us. And Mark, you mentioned reverse time wave. Now, are you talking about time reversal, the signal processing technique of focusing waves and then bouncing them back so the waves are coming back from a transducer toward the originator? Is that what you're talking about?
I think it's kind of, I look at this, I know the movie Star Trek, the original Star Trek series, and they had this, device where they could scan people, and it was the ability, I don't know if it was actually backed up the metabolism of the person, like for if they had a fracture, if they had a broken bone or something, it would reverse the metabolism. It was time reversal wave, but it's actually used, the French I know have worked on this, and in the 60s I know that in the United Kingdom they were working on this technology, but it's actually able to repair cell structure, damaged cell structure. It deals with blood too, as well as reversing metabolism. I'm not exactly sure how it all works. I remember reading about it 30-some years ago, but it's the wave of the future, where it actually could speed up the metabolism of the healing of the cells and regenerative tissue, and it can cause the body to repair, maybe 4, 5, 6 times faster than it normally would.
Mark, so as you're saying this, I'm thinking of some analogies that we could use in this broadcast to help people understand what we're talking about. So if you were to take a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 copier paper, something that you might get out of your printer, and you were to fold it in half, that folding occurs during time going forward. And I think what you're saying is you would be reversing through a technique the unfolding of that paper by reversing it in time. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's it. That's the basis. That's the simplicity. Yeah, and it deals with repairing the entire structure of your body internally, and of course, what is done internally is going to show up externally as well.
So if you break a bone, you fall down and you break your leg, and you could rewind time slowly, you could unbreak it.
Well, you could actually repair it.
Full break.
Yeah,
that's
you could
what
repair the break. You could speed up the
Dr. Shealy,
cell structure and the metabolism.
Dr. Shealy, your thoughts on this? Have you delved into this?
I think there's been in medicine and in science and in fiction, there's been this concept of, moving back and forth in time, both into the future as well into the past. And this is a little piece of the portion, but it isn't really reversal of true time as we understand it. Now, true time, of course, now if you are a quantum physicist, you say there's no such thing as real time anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not saying it's actually like reversing time as far as, I think it has something to do with, originally where it goes back to the garden where, Eve and Adam, before Eve fell and then Adam fell, their blood was, like crystallized light. They actually had this, and when it changed into more what we referred to, or what looks like a liquid now, but at that time it was light. I think it's going to be the technology. I think Dr. Norman Shealy is tapping into this technology. We're just kind of like a hair on your head, but a hair on your head has all of your DNA in it. But we're just at the beginning of this technology, and as it progresses further into the future, I don't think there'll be any need for hospitals.
Well, I would say good on you, mate. I hope you're right.
Okay.
So Mark, are we talking about something equivalent to lying down on a table, an examination table, and then some type of device would be used to reverse the process of the illness through electromagnetic wavelengths? Is that what we're talking about? Or focusing light?
Maybe had a
focusing
project
sound?
that developed in the 50s and the 60s, put somebody in a chamber and actually boost the oxygen in the blood.
Hey, do you want to hold with us? I'd love to hear more about this. That sounds great. Okay. NormShealy.com, NormShealy.com, if you'd like to visit the website of Dr. Norm Shealy. Mark in Illinois is with us. Mark, you were saying something that fascinated me. I didn't hear the origin of the company, but there was a chamber in the 1950s that increased oxygen in the blood. Can you share with us what you're talking about?
The Navy built a chamber for their divers, and they were experimenting, and this was the 1950s, and they were able to increase the oxygen levels in the blood, and then they were able to, then cancer came on the scene, and they were actually experimenting with that too. I think a lot of this stuff has been covered up, but they were able to actually put people in these chambers, like a diver would go into, and they were able to increase the oxygen level over a period of, I think, maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks, to actually destroy cancer in a person's body.
Dr. Shealy?
Well, it's absolutely fascinating. I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and there's a lot of stuff there that I need to study because Well, this is a very quantum physics concept.
Yeah.
And I have to say, quantum physics remains to me about as easy to understand as ancient Greek.
You know, the ancient Hebrew was called Qumri, and it's still spoken today. And it's still spoken in Scotland and Ireland and, Wales. But,
years ago, there was a doctor that I would listen to on the radio on shortwave. His name was Dr. Dunsbach. And he had a cancer clinic in Mexico. And the word was that had he practiced his therapies in the United States, he'd be arrested. And he used a lot of oxygen-type therapies in the treatment of cancer. And so, for example, I believe, if I remember correctly, this is many, many years ago, that you would take a bath, let's say like a whirlpool bath, a hot bath, and then you would, while you're still a little bit wet, you dry off, but you'd still be a little damp, you would get in this bag and up to your neck, and the bag would be pressurized with oxygen, and that oxygen was believed to kill the cancer cells. Exactly what you're talking about, Mark, but this is a little different from being put in a capsule, if you will, that is slightly pressurized with oxygen. But that was the therapy overall that Dr. Dunsbach was talking about. Dr. Shealy, have you heard of that type of a therapy?
Yes, I have. And, of course, there are places where they even just do heat therapy, because even heating the body actually is anti-cancer.
Well, this shield,
Mark?
this shield that Adam and Eve had in the garden was a shield not only of their body, but there was also a shield around the earth to protect the earth, like a dome of water. And it was kind of like a mirror, and it reflected the radioactivity of the sun and all the solar activity that was going on even at that time. But now we're just, taking all this stuff and it's flooding our bodies, and it's very, destructive to our bodies.
Mark, you were in the Navy, is that right?
No, I was in the Air Force and I was in the Army.
Okay. Have you seen any medical...
I doubled it, yeah. Back in the old days, they called it the Army Air Corps in World War II.
Yeah, United States Army Air Corps. Yes, they did. Mark, have you seen any medical miracles that the military has performed that they don't talk about?
I think if you go and read Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden's books, he was talking about, he published his first book on Soviet scalar energetics, but it really wasn't the Soviets that developed this science. It was our people, the Druid, Anglo-Saxon, Celtic people, kindred people of Israel, who developed the technology. And Whitaker published his paper in early 1900, in the year 1900, and Ohm, and they were, and you go back to the 1860s, with these two scientists, let's think of their name, but during the Civil War, and they were talking about this type of technology, and, it seemed like it just got buried, but, or they didn't, if they took it underground and developed it, but you go back and you can read Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden's books that he published on scalar energetics, Soviet scalar, briefing on Soviet scalar energetics. They didn't invent the technology; they just stole it.
Well, actually, it's officially a Scotchman in 1860 who began the concept, and Nikola Tesla is the one who began to make it, put it into reality. And of course, he discovered that you could take scalar and convert it into real energy, but Rockefeller and Edison destroyed him, but they would not allow it to happen.
Oh, those two scientists is Maxwell and Heaviside.
Maxwell is a Scotsman.
Yeah, and see, God has blessed his people, and, to bring back to, from like, when things get lost, when technology, they were doing brain surgery back during the time, 2,000 years ago, even further back, during the time of King David, they were doing brain surgery. But, God is restoring his people, such as you, to return to these ancient paths. And it's really not a new technology, but I think we're in for a whole revival of when the Lord removes this evil presence of the Nephilim and the Raphaim, these evil spirits from the earth, and the kingdom of God is upon earth. We're going to have technology going forth where people are going to be able to invent it, and there's not going to be any hindrances.
Well, don't we all look forward to the day?
Yes,
Dr. Shealy,
I'll leave you with that.
Mark, thanks so much for being with us.
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Shealy, when Nikola Tesla died, his materials were removed from the libraries, as I remember it, and it's almost impossible to find exactly what his writings were. Have you found that to be the case as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, again, Rockefeller and Edison were part of the evil empire, and they still are, and they tried to destroy him and everything that he created.
Have you been able to find any of his works?
Only nothing in depth. Nothing in depth.
Right. I found the same thing. I've purchased some materials about him, but nothing deep enough for me to build from. Nothing that I'd need a little more guidance from him to build something, and I have not found that. Overviews, yes.
The thing that really intrigues me is Bill Tiller, a physicist, who says, in space, empty space, the size of a helium molecule, there's enough energy, if focused properly, to boil the ocean. That one, I can't let that out of my consciousness. And because, think about all the space of the universe. And in a millimeter or less of that space, there's that much energy to boil the ocean. And to me, that is truly the physical representation of God.
The more we know, the more we realize how little we know, right?
Right.
Yeah. And my dad had a saying, and I don't know if this is original to him or to someone else, but when I was at the university level back in the 70s, the 1970s, he said, Vinny, the process of education is learning more and more about less and less until you know absolutely everything about nothing.
I knew where you were going from the beginning.
Is that something that you have heard?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And what he was talking about is the focusing, this specialization where you learn more and more about fewer and fewer things until you ultimately would reach the point where you'd know everything about nothing. And I think it's okay to specialize, but it'd be nice to be able to tie your shoes at the same time, and that applies to medicine. I don't want to go to someone who knows everything about one little thing and not, the general body. And I have a feeling that's where we're headed. Is that true, Dr. Shealy? We're specializing?
Seems that way. Every time I turn around, I see that we seem to be increasingly focused on less and less and less open to new stuff. But I would point out that when William Harvey demonstrated in the 1500s the circulation of blood the physicians rejected him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a question that I wanted to ask last week that I didn't ask. I like blue cheese salad dressing. and my question is that something that I should consider avoiding? Is it something that I should continue eating? And if so, is blue cheese a probiotic? And maybe we should wait until we come back. So the question is blue cheese salad dressing generally good for people? Is it bad for people? It's mold. Is it a probiotic? Or should we just forget the whole thing and just go with oil and vinegar? Dr. Shealy and I will be right back, normshealy.com. And we'll give you Dr. Shealy's phone number when we come back. The telephone number for his clinic in Springfield, Missouri, 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. And if you'd like to buy his books, you can buy them at normshealy.com. NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, my favorite salad topping dressing is blue cheese salad dressing. Is that a probiotic? Is that something I should continue eating or not?
Well, I love it, and I think it's a great food, as is all cheese to some extent. Blue cheese and Roquefort cheese have penicillium, the thing that Fleming originally discovered as an antibiotic. So they have a natural form of penicillin in them, and I suspect that they, even though it isn't a true probiotic, that all fermented milk products feed the bacteria in a good way. They may not be called probiotics or prebiotics, but they are good for the gut.
Okay, so if someone is taking antibiotics, prescribed antibiotics for whatever malady that he or she may have, would blue cheese dressing or some of the other cheeses, like a sharp cheddar, be something that that person should take, at some interval after consuming the antibiotic?
I prefer to take, as you would take your probiotics, to take them sort of halfway between doses of antibiotics. The antibiotics kill everything, practically.
Okay. So if someone is taking antibiotics, let's say every day, and let's say at noon every day, are we talking about 12 hours apart? Or take the antibiotic in the morning, let's say at 9 a.m., and then at 9 p.m. take...
Well, if you're taking it at noon, I would take it at 10 a.m. and 2 to 4 p.m. In other words, 2 to 3 hours away from the antibiotic.
Okay. And what about your thoughts on salad dressing that have preservatives in them? Do those salad dressings in a bottle, whatever that may, or, whatever the container may be, the salad dressings come in from the store. We can talk about Kraft, or we can talk about the house brand, or whatever it might be. Would those blue cheese dressings still be as beneficial because of the preservatives in them, or not?
No, absolutely not. In general, preservatives are not food.
Okay, so we would have to buy blue cheese and make our own blue cheese dressing fresh right then and there, or keep it a couple of days in the refrigerator, but not out of the extruded, manufactured, liquefied, preserved salad dressing. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and remember, plain old Italian oil and vinegar is a foundation. It is a dressing by itself, but it's also a foundation for mixing dressings.
Okay. one of the things that I was reading about the last few days is about the Mediterranean diet, and that's what you're talking about, right? The Mediterranean diet?
Right.
And how good it is, even for people with arthritis. There seems to be a link between following the Mediterranean diet to reduce joint pain of arthritis. And they're saying that the tomatoes, basil, olive oil, olives, are
rosemary.
Small amounts of fish, lean meat are the way to go with if you have arthritis. When we come back, can we talk a little bit about arthritis, the different kinds of arthritis, what arthritis really is, what it means, and what your thoughts are on overcoming it, and can it be reversed? Dr. Norm Shealy, normshealy.com. I'm Vincent Finelli. This is USA Prepares. Everyone all set? Norm Shealy's with us, Dr. Norm Shealy, MD, normshealy.com. We're talking about arthritis, and I'd love to know, what is arthritis? What are the different kinds of arthritis? What causes it? What triggers it? What makes it worse? What can we do to fix it? Can you reverse it? And so what do we do? Dr. Shealy, what is arthritis?
Well, it is an inflammation, irritation of joints. Now, joints are defined as different things. For instance, some anatomists say there are only 3 joints in the wrist or the ankles because so many of them move together. But some people say there are up to 360 joints. So you've got somewhere between 180 and 360 joints, depending on who's doing the counting. And it is an irritation, inflammation, and degenerative process. Interestingly, the most common significant such joints are the cervical spine, the lumbar spine, and the hips. They seem to be bothering a greater percentage of people than all the others. There's also rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease which is very destructive and progressive way beyond osteoarthritis. And, of course, there's gout, which is deposition of uric acid specifically into certain joints. But the important thing is it is painful and limiting in movement.
So we have rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis.
And psoriasis is another unusual disease that primarily affects the skin but can't affect it. It actually becomes like rheumatoid arthritis when it affects the joints.
So what is the difference between rheumatoid arthritis and osteo?
Osteo is much slower. In general, most of the time, it's far less painful until it's very advanced. Rheumatoid arthritis spreads. It can affect virtually all joints in the body.
All right. And what does someone who has, how do you tell the difference between osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis? Can you look at it
a blood test
externally?
Well, you can suspect it, but you can't really be sure without a blood test. You can get a rheumatoid factor that tells you whether it falls into that particular kind of autoimmune disorder.
Okay. And
there's even a type of rheumatoid. There's even a type of rheumatoid arthritis called spondylitic, and that involves the spine primarily, but still is more of the inflammatory rheumatoid type than our degenerative type.
Mm-hmm. And can anything be done about rheumatoid arthritis? So if someone has this blood test for the factor, what would someone do?
The standard medical treatment is either prednisone or methotrexate, and a cancer drug, both of which can certainly cut down on the pain and the inflammation and swelling, but carry serious so-called side effects. Now, in addition, we found that the ring of fire stimulated is particularly good for rheumatoid arthritis. We did one study of 25 people with that, and they had a 75% marked improvement rate just by using the ring of fire.
Okay. Those are Ring of Fire is a Bliss oil class. So if you're interested in that, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. It's an essential oil that Dr. Shealy has come up with, and it's available on the website, normshealy.com. Okay. And osteoarthritis. So what is the cause? Do we know what the cause of these is?
Well, it's more wear and tear, if you will, than average. Now, for instance, the Lord Spine, the Lord Brain, who is a neurologist, back in the 1950s wrote an article on the increase in osteoarthritis in the neck with the advent of automobiles. He felt that the frequent, more quick stopping that we do with braking in an automobile had led to a marked increase in degenerative change in the cervical spine more than anywhere else.
I know a guy who drives a truck who can hardly turn his neck to the left. He can turn to the right, but not to the left. He's probably a few years older than I. Is that from driving a truck?
Yeah, because, you talk about a car. Well, a truck's, I don't know how many tons more, but it's a lot bigger, and so there's obviously more, jerking, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Joey in Michigan, we've connected you with Dr. Norm Shealy, and I think you want to talk about a male problem, and I'd just like to suggest that we have a family audience, so let's keep it within family. Welcome, Joey.
How you doing? Norm, let's go back to the skin arthritis. What causes that, and is there a way to repair that?
To skin arthritis?
You called it psoriasis or arthritis.
Psoriasis, yeah, okay. Well, it is, again, autoimmune is a disease in which the immune system of the body starts attacking some specific part of the body. Almost every organ can have an autoimmune disorder. So psoriasis is an autoimmune disorder which affects the skin. Now, it often does not affect the skin everywhere. It tends to be, to some extent, over the knees, the elbows, but it can go anywhere. It can actually be on your scalp. It can be on your belly, and so it requires, a physician who's got some experience, and sometimes you have to go to special tests to decide between them.
Is it treatable?
Oh, yes. I consider all illness potentially treatable. Now, modern medicine treats them with drugs that always have what they call side effects, which are complications. Sometimes they do help, especially in acute illness. But in chronic disease, every modern medicine that I know of causes more trouble in the long run than it does help.
Could that be caused by a trauma, or it's usually, what activates it?
Nobody knows.
Okay.
These are truly individual. Now, there's some genetic predisposition, for instance, to rheumatoid diseases and a certain other autoimmune disease, but that's variable. It's not a high instance of genetic. And sometimes it'll appear in one person out of 10 generations. So it's some insult to some part of the body that allows the body to forget what it's normally doing, protecting you and attacking the body itself.
Well, I have the one friend that is the 1 in 10 generations, and he's fighting that, at which actually he's thinking of coming to see you. Okay, we'll talk about what I called for is about a prostrate. Seems like all of a sudden I know quite a few people that have a prostrate issue and or had it repaired, and I guess I'm simple. I don't know. What is a prostrate? and what's the condition? I dropped a friend off at the hospital. He's been fighting this thing for a year with a tube, catheter. Finally...
There are two major problems in the prostate gland. Well, there are three possible. Prostatitis is an infection in the prostate, and that's not a terribly common thing, but it happens. Benign prostatic hypertrophy is a slow growth of the prostate, which gets big enough to begin to obstruct your ability to urinate. And that's been around forever, in as long as we know, men have had that happen. And less common than either of those is cancer of the prostate. And each of those can cause serious problems. There are certain herbs and supplements that can help reduce the inflammation and growth of benign prostatic hypertrophy, or BPH, such as potassium beta sitosterol, zinc, etc. Those help. The procedure that's been done for, 90 years maybe, called a TUR, transurethral resection, sometimes called a roto-rooter, is a very bloody, violently physical procedure. Interestingly, over the last 20 years, something has been developed called green laser, in which actually a tube is inserted into and up through the penis or the urethra into the prostate, and it actually dissolves, and it's infinitely safer and simpler and far less complications. For instance, you can go home an hour after the procedure, and by the next day you're back to normal. Where the TUR takes at least 2 or 3 weeks afterwards.
So this is an ongoing issue. It's not in the food. It's not the glyphosates causing it to get up.
No, we think that the biggest increase in it is all of the estrogenic things. Estrogen is not good for the prostate. And now we have soy products, which are highly estrogenic. We have all kinds of pesticides and herbicides, which are estrogenic. We have detergents. Soap detergents are estrogenic. So we have, some of the problems are the increase in all of these estrogen-causing things, which indirectly and or directly reduces the amount of testosterone.
We're going into a break, the 20-minute after the hour break. And Joey, if you'd like to continue, I think this is a very valuable discussion for men. And it seems that, from what I remember, that if you live long enough and you're a man, you're going to have prostate problems. Is that right, Dr. Shealy?
You're right on. Almost inevitably.
All right. Well, it's Instructors Monday at USA Prepares. There's 4 of us now involved. We've got Dr. Norm Shealy, Joey in Michigan, instructor, John Regan on hold, instructor, and me. And we're talking about prostate problems. And class, as I mentioned, guys, if you live long enough, you'll encounter this. Dr. Shealy, please continue.
Well, the important thing is to keep healthy. People who are fat, people who smoke, people who have the usual bad habits are more likely to have prostate troubles. The least... Go ahead, sorry.
Probably drinking 3 or 4 gallons of milk a week and eating fast food would probably... I mean, I would tell this guy, what is wrong with you? You shouldn't even drink milk at your age, and you're drinking 3 to 4 gallons of estrogen-packed milk. And what do you call those? McDonald's breakfast sandwiches or Burger King? Because, it's simple. Well, so he brought this on himself a little easier, correct?
Now, Joey, all fast food is junk.
Right.
I would rather starve to death than eat that junk.
This is my last choice. I mean, if I drink milk, I might drink a quart of milk in a month. And
well, I do like kefir, which is a fermented milk product, slightly better than buttermilk. But when you ferment it, it's a totally different food.
Well, I just tried a kefir goat milk, actually, just for that probiotic effect. I mean, you know, it's a lot easier to try to clean your act up than, I mean, the misery I watched this guy go through for the last year, the fear, all of the above, the catheter, because, yeah, they put one in every month, pull it out.
You know, when he gets to that point, the first month he should have been sent to a urologist who does green laser surgery.
He had a blood clot, so he couldn't do that because he was on rat poison to dissolve it to Coumadin. So
well, he's probably on rat poison because of other poisonous habits.
Well, he finally got off the Coumadin, but, you know, again, I tell him to use the magnesium lotion because he's reading that magnesium is bad for the kidney. And I says, yeah, but the magnesium lotion, you need the magnesium to get your, what's it called, AFib? Because they addressed him with that. And I said, well, you're magnesium deficient. But if he sprays the magnesium lotion on, it's not going to affect his kidneys. True or false?
Absolutely. Perfect. Yes, I agree.
And he can do that 2 or 3 times a day?
Twice a day, 2 teaspoons.
He's going to rub that on?
Any place on the skin.
Is there better spots than others?
Well, I like it on the buttocks, Joey.
Okay,
you know, I pour a teaspoon in my right hand, rub it all over my buttocks. On the right, a left teaspoon on my left buttocks, and pull up my shorts, and it's done. To me, that's the major reason that I like.
All right. Well, I can
Shealy,
go ahead, Vince.
I use a magnesium spray, and the way I do it, it absolutely works, class. Absolutely, no question about it. I've been using it for years, and I had an irregular heartbeat, and nothing seemed to work. You know, oral supplements didn't work, and all I did was use Dr. Shealy's magnesium. And for me, I like the spray better than the lotion, but we have lotion here at the farm. And what I do is when I get out of the shower, I dry off, and right immediately, right after I dry off, I spray magnesium on my chest. And, you know, kind of like if I were spraying plants with one of those plants mister type things, I just spray it right on my chest. And that's it. It doesn't smell. There's no sensation at all. It almost feels like water, Dr. Shealy. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Now, to me, the reason I prefer the lotion is that I don't have to wait for it to dry. Because you pull up your shorts, they're touching it, and you absorb it.
Yeah, either way. So, Joey, it absolutely, positively works in my book. This is not a commercial. This is an endorsement. We'll be right back, Joey. I know you've got some more questions, and John Regan's on hold. This is USA Prepares. I'm Vincent Finelli. Dr. Shealy's with us. Joey in Michigan's with us. John Regan's on hold. Dr. Shealy, you mentioned the TERP, T-E-R-P. That's a violent procedure. It's a bloody procedure. Is it a barbaric procedure?
To me, it's barbaric compared to green laser, yes.
Okay.
I can't imagine any reason for still doing a TUR. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Okay. Okay. And can you describe it in not too graphic terms, briefly?
Yeah. Imagine a corkscrew. I mean, literally with sharp blades. I mean, basically, a TUR is a transurethral. I mean, so it's like shaving it surgically, cutting it. Green laser dissolves it. I mean, I consider it a billion times, trillion times safer.
The green laser, it cooks it, burns it down. What's it do?
Yeah, I mean, it actually vaporizes it. Literally, you know, and they can actually decide what percentage of the prostate to remove while they're there.
The hyperbaric oxygen chamber is what that other caller earlier was talking about. Put you in, pump you full of oxygen.
Yeah, hyperbaric oxygen
hyperbaric?
won't do much for the prostate. I don't know of anything it would do for
my brain scatters, and I thought about that, and I spit it out. Saw palmetto, you had talked about. Is there a difference between saw palmetto and saw palmetto berry? I'm sure they're both a berry to start with, but is there like a tincture?
The saw palmetto extract usually comes in a capsule. It is an extract. It is a liquid inside a capsule. Now, there's another.
Why do you take that? What? Because I've heard you talk about it before.
It calms the prostate and stops the growth.
Oh, that's what its purpose is.
Yes.
Is there electrical tools like your scalar energy, a TENS unit, anything that could have an effect on it?
I don't know of any use of PEMF or scalar on treating the prostate.
Is there? I want to leave time for John because John doesn't call that often, and I'm glad to hear he's still using the telephone. That's a great start. But I want to give. Well, it used to be a pleasure to listen to him every Monday, and I know time is an element, just like for all of us. So I don't want to steal time from him. But is there anything we haven't talked about a prostrate that?
Well, I think I didn't mention zinc adequately. Be sure to get 20 milligrams of zinc a day.
And is there a particular kind of citrate? What's the best kind?
Chelated zinc. Right. Now products make one called OptiZinc, OPTI-zinc.
And do you take that with other vitamin or mineral to benefit it?
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, obviously, again, beta-sitosterol plus zinc are the two big ones.
What is beta-asterol?
Well, it's an extract from a plant. It's moderately different from saw palmetto. I say a broader spectrum, but I like all of them together.
And what was the third one?
Dr. Shealy's.
Well, it's zinc, beta-sitosterol, and
saw palmetto.
Saw palmetto.
Okay.
And what about Dr. Shealy's Essentials? Does that have enough zinc in it, Dr. Shealy, or do we need more?
That in prostate trouble, I'd add another 20 milligrams.
Okay.
Morning or evening?
Doesn't matter.
Dr. Shealy, there's a alleged breakthrough in an electromagnetic type device that they are claiming is in a 30-minute session of this electromagnetic device just placed on your skin, it will cause the muscle spasms to be the equivalent of 20,000 sit-ups in one 30-minute session. Do you think there is reason to experiment with your PEMF device to reduce the prostate problems that men are having?
Basically, if you sit on it all day, I suspect it would do wonders for the prostate.
Well, what's better than that? I can't. Seriously, class, I have a PEMF device that Dr. Shealy provided for me, and there's no invasive anything. The only thing is I can't use it near the microphone in the studio because you can hear it. You can hear the electromagnetic effect on the microphone. But, okay, so sitting on it, Dr. Shealy, is that something that you want to study?
Well, I think it would be worthwhile if people were interested in doing it. But you want to start before it gets bad.
Okay. All right. And getting bad means what, Dr. Shealy? Difficulty urinating? Okay. All right. Well, Joey and I both know different individuals. I don't know who Joey's talking about, but I know an individual that is using a catheter several times a day to delay, a procedure. whatever that procedure he may select is. Are there any risks in doing that, Dr. Shealy, using a catheter multiple times per day?
Infection. I mean, the biggest problem with putting a catheter is it increases the risk of infection in the bladder.
And you would think that, using a catheter over and over and over might do something a little less invasive than that corkscrew. But is that true or not true, Dr. Shealy? Does that expand
it's certainly
the
less
urethra?
invasive than this corkscrew, but it's not a long-term solution.
Okay. Joey?
It's a temporary stopgap.
My whole concern with these questions were, if we go into a time, whether it's grid down, whether it's a economic spill, and you don't have the money to have this done, you're going to be really in a bad way when you can't pee, and that's the question. That was the whole format. You know, I've watched this guy suffer for a year. I've heard of other people not realizing what misery they were having. So my point is, I'm looking how to avoid a situation, and when you say it's an inevitable, that's scary because as we go deeper into the abyss, you know, right now you can still probably have a procedure if you have some kind of insurance. What are you going to do when you are a selected person? Oh, you are royalty. Come right ahead of us. You know, and that's the scary part. That's the whole reason, you know, for vitamins, minerals, is to create a situation.
I will mention one other procedure. Most men are not particularly interested in it, but I have actually taught a wife to massage her husband's prostate every morning for 5 minutes. And using a rubber glove and just going in and manually pressing on it and massaging the prostate can also help immensely. Most people don't want to do that, but hey, in a crisis situation, halitosis is better no breath at all.
There was the question of Lugol, iodine, and DMSO applied down in that area. Any ideas? Ever heard of such a story?
I would not be applying DMSO to my prostate.
All right. I didn't think that was a good idea, but somebody threw it out at me. I said, I'll ask the question, seeing.
I think it's a bit stupid.
Okay. You know, I know for bruises, and I've had some muscle tears, I guess we'll call them, in my forearms and that. And I know when I put the DMSO on it, by the third day, I have full movement again.
Oh, yeah. Well, DMSO is excellent on the skin, on various places, but not in the prostate or on the prostate, no.
No, and I mix it down to 40% DMSO, 60% distilled water. I'm going to go, not because I want to, because I want John to have a fair amount of time to ask whatever he's calling for. I appreciate all your help, Vinny, Dr. Shealy, and good to know that John's still on the market. And he's out and about, and hopefully he's got good health.
Thanks, Joey.
Joey, before you go, very quickly, may I suggest that you call in next week and let's continue this discussion at a deeper level. I think that it is critical. I think it's important as well. I really think that, you know, if you're stranded without a medical facility, how are you going to? It's overwhelming. I mean, and this is a part where when you can't pee, you got a problem, and when you can't, release all the toxins in your body, you got a problem. So I mean, these are things you can't fix if you don't have any kind of.
Yeah, Peter the Great of Russia died of a gangrene of the bladder, I presume because of BPH.
Oh wow, that's a whole other part of the story nobody's even aware of.
Joey, let's continue this next week.
Good.
Can you do that?
Thanks. I appreciate it. Be safe.
Okay. Thank you. There's Joey. There goes Joey. Captain John Regan, thanks for calling in.
How's it going?
Slowly, I understand, for a lot of men. Okay.
Well, let me pare this down a bit to try and fit in. About a month ago, I came across this video from Dr. Thomas Levy, and he referenced a study on the ferritin levels of frequent blood donors. And I've had time to go in, take a look at it, because I don't have a medical background. There's only limited things I can pull from it. But basically, this study, which was done out of Yale, they took 40 high-frequency blood donors. That was 8 or more donations in the past 2 years. Compared them to 42 low-frequency, which had 1 to 2 donations in 2 years. And these were people 50 to 75 years old. And determined that the decreased body iron stores, decreased oxidative stress, enhanced vascular function compared to the low-frequency donors. And I'll finish up when we get on the other side of the break.
Yeah. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. Captain John Regan's with us. We'll be right back. Quick announcement, class, for those interested in seeing Mike Ma Friday, October 26th in Springfield, Missouri, either during the day or during the evening. 3-man militia is the topic of the event. If you're interested, send me an email at instructor@usapreparedness.com, instructor@usapreparedness.com. Mention your phone number, and we'll let you know more about it. If we have enough interest, Mike Ma will be there. That is Friday, October 26th in Springfield, Missouri. Building a 3-man militia, how to create one, how to expand one, how they work, and how they're useful. John Regan, back to you.
So in the study, those that were low-frequency blood donors had a ferritin level of 52 on average. The high-frequency had a ferritin level of 17. So from what I gleaned from Dr. McCullough and the people he interviews, that a number between 30 and 60 was considered the sweet spot. And with this Yale study, it's saying that having a ferritin level even lower than that improves the health. So I'm looking at going back. The prescription you gave me is still good. They told me it's good for a year. So I'm looking at getting a couple more pints taken, because my levels were in the 60s, and a couple more would probably bring it down into this range. And I don't see a problem with that. Basically what Dr. Levy was saying, as long as your hemoglobin and hematocrit are good, the low ferritin levels, not a problem.
Yeah, but, and here's one study that shows that those who use 3 times a year or more live longer. But they think that maybe it's because they live longer because those people who give blood that often tend to have much healthier habits overall.
Well, that's part of it, but also the iron levels make a difference too. But I wanted to ask on an activist type level, people like me that because of my time in Europe, or I can't donate blood, and there's other reasons out there, we have to go find a doctor that will give us a prescription to go get blood taken. And I don't think it's too unreasonable that people that have these higher ferritin levels shouldn't be able to go and, at least on the schedule of a normal blood donor, if all their other markers are acceptable for accepting what a blood donor would do, why we can't go even if we have to pay for it. And I was wondering, is that something that can be attacked on a state level, or does it only have to be attacked at the national level?
Well, I'm sure it could be attacked at a state level. Most things are left to the state legislature. We talk about 50 battles rather than one big one. But let's face it, government sucks at all levels. I tend to think Missouri has some of the best laws in the country, but still, I'd rather have very little government.
Thanks. Just wasn't sure what to do on that. Found some other nice, interesting things, but just not enough time today. One of the other things that he showed was that a lot of the iron that wheat products are fortified with is elemental iron, and that doesn't do good with the gut either. And then you add the glyphosate on top of that, And I also happened to find an article talking about the residual amount of glyphosate in organic versus regular commercial wheat. And I did all the ratios on that. The most favorable was organic wheat had about a third of the level, whereas the least favorable ratio, organic wheat had over 80% of the level of commercial wheat. So that was a pretty disgusting read on my part there.
Well, glyphosate is beyond disgusting. It is evil.
And that destroys your gut microbiome, which causes all kinds of problems.
Yep. Poison of the century.
Poison of the century. Roy Blunt, right? Mr. Monsanto himself, Roy Blunt, Senator Roy Blunt from Missouri, the corrupt state. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for being with us. John Regan, Captain John Regan, thank you for being with us. I'm looking forward to hearing more of Captain John Regan and Norm Shealy in the days to come. Gentlemen, thank you so much.